the quaint suburban community of Maple Grove, the brightly painted houses lined the streets like a row of cheerful soldiers. The Maple Grove Homeowners Association, HOA, was known for its strict rules and regulations, ensuring that every lawn was manicured and every fence painted the approved shade of beige. Residents in the neighborhood tended to adhere closely to the HOA's guidelines, fearful of the penalties that came from stepping out of line.
Across the street from the HOA-governed properties lived an enigmatic couple, Sandra and Greg, who had recently moved into a charming blue cottage. They weren't part of the HOA, they had opted out, preferring the freedom of their own choices over the constraints of conformity. While the rest of Maple Grove followed the HOA's guidelines, Sandra and Greg took pride in their garden of wildflowers, their eclectic decorations, and their unyielding commitment to a free-spirited lifestyle. However, it didn't take long for the HOA to take note of their vibrant abode. During a monthly meeting, the HOA board, led by the exceptionally uptight president Mrs. Jenkins, identified the couple as a nuisance threatening the visual harmony of the neighborhood. Determined to impose their control, the board crafted a series of increasingly absurd complaints against Sandra and Greg. The complaints ranged from the color of their shutters to the wildflowers that fluttered around their yard, which the HOA deemed an eyesore. Sandra and Greg were unbothered at first, enjoying their summer picnics in the garden and hosting friendly barbecues with neighbors who appreciated their unique approach to home and garden. But as the complaints stacked up, they found themselves embroiled in an unexpected conflict. The HOA summoned them to attend a meeting, where they were subjected to ridicule and attempts to pressure them into compliance. The tension escalated, leading to a particularly heated meeting where Mrs. Jenkins confronted them. "Your property does not conform to the standards set by this community," she declared, pointing to a color swatch that they hadn't seen before and declaring their flower bed a zoological hazard because a couple of bees happened to have taken residence among the blooms. The board agreed unanimously to issue fines unless they made immediate changes. Outraged, Sandra stood up. "These flowers attract bees that pollinate our community's gardens and crops. What's so wrong about a little color and life in this neighborhood?" Her voice was steady, but she was furious.
The crowd murmured, torn between the desire to support Sandra and the terror of the HOA's retribution. One brave neighbor, Mr. Huang, decided to speak up. "I moved here for the charm of this community, not for a monochrome prison. If anything, your rigidity is what threatens our neighborhood spirit." More neighbors joined in, sharing their grievances about the HOA's stranglehold on their lives.
The confrontation turned into a rallying cry. Word spread around the neighborhood, and before long, residents began to realize they were tired of the stifling grip the HOA had over even the smallest decisions in their lives. They began to push back.
With the HOA's reputation now at risk, the board decided to organize a community cleanup day, hoping to win back the residents' goodwill. But instead of cleaning up, Sandra and Greg and their newfound supporters organized a color explosion picnic. They filled the park with vibrant blankets, decorated with flowers, wind chimes, and laughter. Block by block, attendees brought bold decorations that defied the HOA's rigid standards. The event was wildly successful, showcasing the community's diversity and creativity. It was hard to ignore how much more life and warmth Sandra and Greg brought to the neighborhood compared to the monotonous beige that the HOA cherished.
As the sun set on the colorful picnic, a group of residents approached Sandra and Greg to apologize for having kept quiet. They realized the HOA's oppressive rules had held them back for too long, and they promised to stand together against the association's nonsensical mandates. When the HOA board convened again, they were met with a united front of homeowners demanding changes. The pressure mounted. Facing backlash and declining support, the board reluctantly backed down, agreeing to revise the regulations to allow for more personal expression, especially when it came to maintaining gardens and decorations.
In the weeks that followed, the once muted uniformity of Maple Grove blossomed into a kaleidoscope of colors. Sandra and Greg's home became the symbol of a community coming together to reclaim their identity. They taught their neighbors that true harmony meant embracing differences, not suffocating them under layers of beige. And so the Maple Grove HOA learned a valuable lesson about supporting its residents rather than stifling them, while the colorful spirit of the neighborhood grew stronger and more vibrant than ever. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. It makes my crit so hard.